Hey everyone, and welcome to Autism Awakening, the podcast that helps you help your child with autism. My name's Dr. Jared Skowron, and I've been an international biomedical autism doctor for 21 years and specialize in natural interventions to help your child on their road to recovery. In my private practice, I've helped thousands of kids improve their speech, improve their behavior, improve their sleep, and really help them become a better child so they can fulfill their potential and help them on their way to growing up and being an independent kid. So, today is middle of August. It's August 15th, I believe. So it's August 15th, and we are in the middle of starting school or getting ready to start school. So what I wanted to talk about today was, hey, how can we help and support our kids at school, whether that be their focus and concentration or whether it be their behaviors and their temper. All right, so that's really what we're going to kind of get into. It's going to be a shorter podcast than usual today. It's a pretty succinct topic, but of course, we love to answer our live questions. If you're listening to this podcast out in podcast world, whether it's Spotify or Apple or Google or what have you, we record our podcast live on our Facebook page. So you can go to our Facebook page, Spectrum Awakening, and listen to the live podcast recording. It's every Thursday it's every Thursday at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I take my lunch on Thursdays and record a podcast so I can help you understand there's so much that's out there that you can do to help your child. What really frustrates me, and it's been frustrating me for decades, is that most people don't know, most parents don't know, most families don't know, most pediatricians don't know that there is scientifically proven interventions that you can use to help your child. And therapy is great. Speech therapy is great. OT is great. ABA is great. Sometimes that works for kids. Sometimes that doesn't. But there's other things that we can do to enhance all of that. Because autism is a medical condition. It's not a choice. It's not parenting. It's a medical condition. And the more we understand it medically, the more we have interventions and treatments to help your child improve faster. And frankly, what I've seen over the years is the more you do, the more your child gets better. So when you're doing therapy, that's great. When you do natural interventions, that's great. When you do both, this is where the improvements happen exponentially. Okay, so we've got some live people coming on. Hi to all the live people. I wanted to start our podcast today by reading a poem by one of my patients. So let me grab my cheaters. Cheaters on, everybody. So this is a poem from one of my patients that I saw today, and he's a 19-year-old male, lives in Canada. He actually has a book of his poetry, so he writes poems. He's not very verbal, but again, just like our kids, man, our society judges intellect based on what comes out of this mouth, what comes out of this hole. So, but our kids have so much more. Just because they can't speak doesn't mean it's not in there, and our kids have great receptive language. Those kids who use devices or tablets to communicate, it's in there, okay? Our kids are just as smart as every other kid, and we've got to understand that when we're talking to them and when we're talking near them and when we're communicating with them. Just because they can't verbally express it doesn't mean they don't get us. So, again, here's a child who has some poetry. The book is pinned. He has an Amazon link, which we pinned here in the Facebook page. The first poem is, I am free. I am free. In my dreams, I scream just to hear my voice. I sing a sweet melody and people listen. They listen to me and I am free. Gives me chills. Here's the last one. Autism, Part 1. In my mind, pictures, sounds, smells, larger than life, loops, obsessions, out of my control. Math comes with ease. My mouth produces few words. This is autism. I love it. I love getting into the minds of our kids and understanding them. It's so amazing, so amazing. So if you're interested in more, again, we've pinned his poetry book on Amazon, and it's just great to, I asked the family to share this poetry because I want to spread stories of hope. I want to spread stories of what our kids can do. And they're not Yes, they're limited, but we want to get rid of those limitations. We want to help them in every way possible. So I love getting into their minds and understanding what they feel and understanding them. So I just wanted to share that. All right, let's get into our topic of the day. Again, our topic of the day is focus and is getting back to school. So when I talk to families, it's obviously back to school time. There's really two things that we talk about in school. Number one is focus and attention and concentration. And the other one is basically tantrums and handling the stress of school. So let's quickly talk about the stress first. That will be a shorter topic, and then we'll get into the focus and concentration where I've got our scientific research here. So as we've talked about ad nauseum before, handling stress is something that we all do, but we can only handle so much, okay? Some of us can handle a lot of stress. Some of us can only handle a little stress, and it varies day to day. Some days I can handle more stress, and other days, geez, I can't. I cannot even, as the kids say. So it's, that stress response, or that stress endurance, as I like to call it, has to do with our stress hormone. And we have a stress hormone called cortisol, all right? Cortisol is a hormone, and we've heard of this. Hey, that's your stress hormone. And a lot of people think of it as, if I have stress, I have more cortisol. Okay, and if I have less stress, I have less cortisol. That's not the association. That's actually our adrenaline. If I have a lot of stress and anger, I have a lot of adrenaline. If I have, if I'm calm, I have less adrenaline. Cortisol is more of the reserves of stress endurance. How much stress can I handle? Okay? The higher my cortisol levels, the more stress I can handle. The lower my cortisol levels, the less stress I can handle. So we're often testing cortisol levels in our kids. It's an easy urine test. Every lab in the world does it, or every big lab in the world does cortisol testing. And so you can get a simple urine test, and insurance usually pays for it. And you can look at that cortisol and say, hey, if it's low, I probably have a quick trigger. I probably have a quick fuse. I'm probably walking on eggshells. Okay? If I have a high cortisol level and a robust cortisol level, I've got the endurance to be able to handle stress. So I normally, and really often with our kids who have quick temper, I normally see really low cortisol levels. Okay? So we can boost that up. It's really easy. We use our herbal product, Temper Tamer, which is an herbal combination of different adrenal herbs that help support normal cortisol levels and helps you handle not having a temper, being able to handle more stress. And again, what stresses the kids out? Well, it could be whatever, okay? We've got to get into their mind. Is it what the therapists are asking them to do? Is it what the teachers are asking them to do? Is it sitting all day in a desk? I can't even handle that, okay? What is it about the situation? The situation of school, the situation of therapy, the situation at home that's stressful for them? Really doesn't matter what the situation is or what the trigger is, unless we can get rid of it. We want to get rid of those triggers, but it's being able to handle those things. Okay. Another thing that was taught to me by Temple Grandin, I recorded a podcast with her earlier this year, I think January, and she was talking about the new LED lights. Okay. The LED lights don't use much energy because they actually flicker. They go off and on constantly. Now they flicker on and off so fast, you can't see it with the naked eye. But if you get your phone and record a video on slow motion, cheaper LED lights flicker and the expensive ones don't flicker, which is really, really cool. I've done it in my house, right, with the slow-mo video. Take a slow-mo video of different LED lights. Take a video of them at school. And that flickering, while we don't notice it, kind of like helicopter blades. You can't see a helicopter blade. It's moving too fast. But our brain picks it up, and that's a stressor, okay? I mean, flashing a light in your eyes, that's a stressor, okay? So is it something like that? Who knows? What is it? It could be any trigger, but we need to be able to handle the trigger. So I want to make sure if you feel that your child has a quick temper, has a quick fuse, gets frustrated at therapies or school or wherever, then we want to make sure that you're trying some kind of cortisol or adrenal supplement like our Temper Tamer or our Sanity Saver, okay? They're very similar in effect. You don't need both, you just need one. It's more on taste. Now, they're both capsules. If you can swallow capsules, that's great. If you have to open them, the Temper Tamer kind of tastes like black licorice, and the Sanity Saver kind of tastes like ground beef. So, is what it is, but they work, all right? So that's and Susan, great question. Can moms take Temper Tamer? Let me change your question. Should moms take Temper Tamer? Yeah, we all should. Look, we're all stressed. We're stressed as parents. We're just stressed. You open your phone, okay, and read something about the election. All right, that's enough stress right there. We're all so overstressed. Our bodies were not adapted to handle this stress. Our bodies designed, or evolutionarily designed, to be out in the fields all day, working the farms, or hunting an animal. That's what our bodies are designed to do. We're not designed to handle the stress of the technological age, okay? So, yeah, I take Tempertainment myself. When I do, I feel better. I feel better. I can handle the day. You know what? I got stress of the day, whether that's work, whether that's my daughter, whether that's family, whether that's driving and dealing with the road rage, whatever it is, we got stress. So you can handle your stress better. So I think everybody should be on some type of adrenal product like Tempertainment or Sanity Saver. All right. Let's get into the topic of focus and concentration, paying attention. Now, this could be paying attention at school and academics. This could be paying attention to your therapist, okay? Like, hey, you need to, repeat after me, or whatever OT or whatever ABA says. Does my brain have the focus to stick it and do it? Now, we're going to talk about where focus comes from, okay? Focus comes from the speed of the brain, right? And when we hear about lack of focus, and we of course hear about ADD and ADHD, it's, those are just diagnostic terms that you get if you go up to your pediatrician and say, hey, my kid won't focus at school. Maybe you fill in a survey, maybe you don't. They're like, all right, you got ADHD, and here's some Ritalin, here's some methylphenidate, here's some Adderall, here's some Concerta, here's some Vyvanse, here's some Quilivant, whatever. They give you a medication. What does that medication do? That medication is a brain stimulant, all right? Now, you may have tried these with your kid. They're very commonly prescribed. And you go one of two ways, all right? Number one, you're probably going to get more focus, okay? In some kids, you get more focus and you calm down the hyperactivity, all right? In other kids, you get more focus and you become massively hyperactive, super hyperactive, bouncing off the walls, can't sleep at night. So what is it? And I find it intriguing and interesting that you can take a stimulant medication. You're hitting the accelerator of the brain, right? And some kids will calm down and other kids will speed up, okay? So it's, I say this a lot, medicine is Goldilocks, okay? We don't want too little, don't want too much, we want just right. So what is this Goldilocks of brain accelerators and brain stimulation where we see benefits or side effects of ADD meds, all right? You can have lack of focus from one of two reasons. Again, Goldilocks, okay? Number one, your brain might be working too slowly, okay? It has nothing to do with IQ, it's just the speed of the brain, all right? And boy, if you wake up in your foggy brain, you're like, oh, I just can't, why can't I think? Why can't I remember that, okay? Brain just isn't moving fast enough. Speeding up that brain gives you the focus, okay? Also pretend you pulled an all-nighter, right? You stayed up all night and you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my gosh, I need some coffee. I need to wake up. You might do some jumping jacks and move your body around. This is what's happening in kids or adults where the brain's just going too slow. Again, it has nothing to do with IQ or smartness. It has to do with just how fast is my car running. I might have a BMW or a Maserati, but if I don't hit the accelerator, it's not going to go anywhere. All right? So this is where stimulation helps. Now, that can be stimulants of an ADD med. That can be stimulants of coffee. That can be stimulants of running around. So many of our hyperactive kids are actually just trying to wake themselves up, okay? And these are the kids that do well on stimulants. Now, I'm just not saying stimulant medications, but also natural stimulants as well, which we're going to talk about. The other end of the extreme is when your brain's going too fast. Your brain's thinking of a million things. I can't. Squirrel, right? Your brain's not stopping. As somebody just said it here, Natalie just made a comment, my son gets aggressive on stimulants. You take a brain that's already going a million miles an hour and then you add more stimulation to it, well, guess what? You're going to get somebody who's angry, you're going to get somebody who's more hyper, you're going to get somebody who doesn't sleep, okay? And this is a super common side effect of ADHD stimulants because you can't hit the accelerator of somebody who's going 100 miles an hour, all right? So getting focus, or what causes focus, can either be a brain that's not going fast enough and needs to wake up, or the other end of the extreme, a brain that's going too fast and frankly is focusing on a lot of things, but I'm not going to sit here and work on fractions because I'm thinking about all these other things in my brain, okay? Maybe it's anxiety. I see so much misdiagnosed anxiety that's diagnosed as ADD because the child's fearful and has worries and focuses on the worries rather than on the academics, all right? They got great focus. But they're focused on their fears. They're focused on their worries. They're not focused on what we want them to focus on, which is school. All right. But that gets thrown into the ADHD. Well, you're not paying attention to the teachers, so here's some Ritalin. Okay. But in all honesty, it's the anxiety. So this whole ADD thing has a lot of different causes, and each of those different causes have different interventions. So that's just to kind of explain the biology of the lack of focus and the lack of ADD. So what do? Well, frankly, it's a little trial and error. Okay. If you feel your child is super hyper, can't sleep, maybe aggressive, thinks about a million things, talks about a million things, has a lot of separation anxiety, brain's probably going too fast. Okay, we need to calm that down, slow that down. I like using things like our Common Cool product, the #2 best-selling product, our Super Serotonin, our Spectrum Tranquility. These are things that are going to calm you down. Okay, calm your brain down. Let's slow it. Let's hit the brakes. I want to drive 60 miles an hour, not 100 miles an hour. All right? You can try those. If you feel your child wants to learn, wants to focus, but has brain fog and just can't get that movement on, they still might be hyper, but they should probably sleep pretty well, okay? Because when they shut their brain off, it's, goodbye, see you later, okay? Those are the kids that we want to stimulate. We want to rev that engine and bring it up, okay? Here's where we're going to get into the science. That revving of the brain is mostly controlled by a brain chemical or a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine is one of the bigger stimulants in the brain, and it's the one that's been researched with ADD, and it's how the ADD stimulants work. They activate dopamine activity in the brain, okay? So we can do that naturally, right? Everything in the body is made from the foods we eat, the water we breathe, and the water we drink and the air we breathe. So even our neurotransmitters, even the chemicals for focus and concentration and motivation, which is dopamine, are made from our foods. And we know exactly what proteins, what vitamins the brain uses to make those. So what do? We take those things, we take those supplements, and we put them all together, and that's our natural brain stimulant. Okay? We call it attention on the double. Okay? Attention on the double, that's all the nutrients that are needed to make dopamine. Dopamine's going to get you focus, concentration, and motivation. That's what it does. Okay? How does it deal with autism? Well, let's take a look at the research. We love scientific research. There's so much scientific research on autism and natural therapies. Dopamine dysfunction in autism. Possible subtype of autism. Let me start that again. Okay. Dopamine dysfunction in autism. A possible subtype of autism may be associated with dopamine dysfunction. Dopamine is required for reward processing and behavioral learning. Okay? So, researchers have shown dopamine is abnormal and not functioning well in most kids with autism. All right, got it. All right. So what do we do about it? Well, we try to stimulate it, we try to activate it, we see what happens. If it backfires and your kids get aggressive or hyper, you switch off the stimulants and you go to the sedatives. You go to the relaxants. Okay? From a pharmaceutical point of view, those are things like guanfacine and Intunif. Those are the common ones. Okay? Here we go. Dopamine and autism, agonists and their possible use in treatment. Association of dopamine and autism, specifically repetitive and stereotyped behavior. Agonists for dopamine and autism are future perspectives of their possible use in autism treatment. Let me break that down. That was a little sketchy. Not sketchy, but just not as coherent. What this says is dopamine dysfunction is associated with autism, specifically kids who stim, who have stereotypies, and who have repetitive movements, stimming, okay? Because, and I'll agree with this clinically, when I see kids who are stimming and flapping their hands or have stereotypies, they seem to go away when we increase the dopamine production in the brain. When we give them our attention supplement, those stims will reduce. Why? Let's go back to the brain moving slowly, the brain trying to wake up, so the brain activates the physical body to do that. Okay? What this then says is dopamine agonist, and an agonist is a fancy word for a stimulant. A dopamine stimulant in autism is a future perspective for autism treatment, okay? It's not the future, we're doing it now, all right? Let me tell you a story, and then I've got one other scientific study. One of my favorite stories, and this is actually going to be in my book, and I'm setting aside next week to just work on my book. So there's not going to be a Facebook Live next week, not seeing patients next week. I'm going to sit down, nose to the grindstone, and try to get this out. But then it has to go through publishers, so it's not going to come out anytime soon, but I got to get it written first. One of my favorite stories, and this story is a patient is sharing their story for the book. I was at a TACA conference. This was back in 2019, and boy, 5 years ago, time flies. Mom came up and said, hey, here's my daughter. Let me tell you about her. What do you think? I listened. I said, you know what? After about 5 minutes, I said, I really think your child has this slow brain, low dopamine kind of kid. And as a side note, we talked about testing cortisol. You can test dopamine. You can test serotonin. You can test adrenaline levels in the body. It's a simple urine test. Every lab in the world does it. Okay. We test cholesterol before we give cholesterol meds. Why aren't we testing dopamine before we give ADD supplements, stimulants? Why are we not testing serotonin before we give antidepressants? I don't get it. We test blood pressure before I give blood pressure meds. I don't understand. Anyway, I digest. So I talked to the mom. I said, she seems like these low dopamine kids. I want you to try, our dopamine supplement, attention on the demo. So I gave it to her. A couple days later, she comes back and she says, you know what? My daughter, she's 5, nonverbal, and I started giving her that supplement 2 days ago. And today's my birthday. And before I left, I went to hug her, and she held my face, and she looked at me, and she said, happy birthday, Mom. And those were the first words that she had heard in years. So it's an awesome story that there is something that'll work for your child. Okay? There's a lot out there, and we've got to trial and error and start, but it's awesome. Okay? It's awesome when you find the thing that works. Same thing is going to work for everybody, but there's always something. So keep trying. Keep trying. All right. Last but not least, we're going to be talking about stopping dopamine. Okay, so again, dopamine is a brain stimulant. If you don't have the focus and concentration, your brain's lethargic, you got brain fog, adding more dopamine is going to help. Give you more focus, reduce the hyperactivity in the stims of the physical body trying to wake up the brain. Great stuff, okay? But again, that doesn't work for everybody. The other half of the kids are going too fast, and they're too hyper, and they're sleepless, and they got problems, and you give them a stimulant, and it's going to get worse, okay? So what do you do with those kids? You give them relaxants. You give them sedatives. We talked about our supplements like Calm and Cool and Spectrum Tranquility and Super Serotonin, really popular, work really well. Pharmaceutically, a drug is given called risperidol or risperidone, very, very similar meds, okay? This was the first medication approved for autism. Now, let me say this. I hate risperidone. I don't like it one bit, okay? For 2 reasons. Number one, it does not treat the core symptoms of autism. It does not help with brain development. It does not help what is autism at its root, which is a developmental delay, okay? What it does, it's a pharmaceutical straitjacket that prevents violence. So if your child is violent, if your child is hurting themselves, if your child is hurting others, it's normally because of pain, and what we try to do in my practice, I have a telemedicine practice, we try to identify the source of that pain and get rid of the cause of that pain, and then there's no more outbursts, okay? What's done pharmaceutically is just shush, STFU, here's a medication that'll put you in a straitjacket so you don't bother anybody and you don't hurt yourself, you don't hurt others. I don't want anybody hurting themselves or hurting others. So it's important to talk about what's out there and what may be suggested to you by your physician, okay? And again, that's a drug called risperidone or risperidol. Now, this study was published in 2002, so I just wanted to kind of highlight the age of this. This talks about risperidone in children with autism, all right? Treatment with risperidone resulted in a 57% reduction in irritability scores. Risperidone therapy was associated with an average weight gain, increased appetite, fatigue, drowsiness, dizziness, and drooling were more common in the risperidone group than the placebo group. Okay? Again, I call risperidone the zombie drug. All right. And look, if your child's hurting themselves or hurting others, we don't want that. We don't want anybody hurt. So risperidone's prescribed to put your kid in a pharmaceutical straitjacket so they don't do it. Okay. It's a massive break in the brain. It's, whoa, slow down there. Why don't you sit in the corner, gain some weight, be tired, and drool? That's the side effects of risperidone. Okay. So again, I'm at this, pro-con conversation about risperidone when, hey, if somebody's hurting themselves or hurting others, you need to stop that. Okay. And this medication short term will help that. But you got to find the cause. Okay. And you've got to find the cause of why they're acting out. And often it's pain in our kids. Often that's from a gut infection. And that's what you have to get rid of, because then the behaviors go away. Behaviors go away because you made the child feel better. Child doesn't want to hurt themselves. Why are they banging their head on the wall and bruising themselves? They don't want that. But the pain of that is better than the pain they're feeling. Okay? If I've got a migraine, I might pound on my head because that pain is better than the pain of my migraine. But don't just shut your kids up. Help them feel better. Get rid of the pain. All right? Anyway, but I know, look, I get it. Like, your doctor says, try this. It'll stop them from hurting themselves, and you give it. You're like, hey, they stopped hurting themselves. This is great. Okay? But we really got to get to the core of helping our kids, not just band-aiding them. All right. I'll get off my high horse about that. All right. So that's kind of the scientific research I have. Let me kind of quick summarize, and then we'll show the coupon and answer our live questions. It's back to school time. Focus is important. Temper happens in our kids at school, and nobody wants those calls from the teachers. Okay. So what do we do? Well, if your kid has a quick trigger, a quick fuse, all right, doesn't like stress, they'll probably have an issue with their cortisol hormone. Okay. We naturally balance that with supplements like our Temper Tamer or our Sanity Saver. They help support normal cortisol levels, help you endure stress. Okay. Obviously, we can take stressors away, but, you're going to have to deal with life. So let's help it. As I forgot who asked, should parents take this? Yeah. And you know what? We burst out as well, and nobody wants that. You yell at your kids, you yell at your spouse, something happens. Everybody regrets that afterwards, right? Nobody wants to be that. But supporting your cortisol and your stress hormone will help. Okay, I take it myself. All right, over to focus and ADD. Lack of focus happens for one of two reasons. I'm not thinking fast enough, or I'm thinking way too fast about a lot of other things. Helping that is either stimulating the brain or relaxing the brain. We can do that naturally by pushing different brain chemicals and different neurotransmitters, okay? So we read some research today about dopamine. Dopamine's one of the major stimulants in the brain. It's responsible for focus and concentration and motivation, okay? If it's hard to motivate your kids, they probably have low dopamine. I tell my daughter, clean your room, I'll give you $1,000. I don't want your $1,000. Well, you're lacking some motivation. So dopamine helps with that. We know what vitamins and amino acids and minerals make dopamine, so we put them all together in our supplement Attention on the Double. Now, quick side note. We have an Attention on the Double powder, which this is, and it's tasteless, which is great. I know, supplements have a taste. This one's tasteless. Let's see if I can kind of put it in my hand here. It's a nice white, kind of gray powder. And tasteless. Put in water, put in food, put in drinks. It's fine. We also have Attention on the Double capsules for people who can swallow caps. Now, the caps are a different formula. The caps are the proteins and a full B vitamin complex. Now, we just updated all of our supplements that have B vitamins in them because we wanted to make sure we had the best form of vitamins for your kids. Okay, these are the vitamins I formulate for the patients in my practice. I want them to be the best. I want them to be gluten-free, dairy-free. So what we've done is the Attention on the Double now has folinic acid, which in my opinion is way better than folic acid, and I think better than methylfolate. And we're changing all of our B12 to be adenosyl B12. Okay, and adenosyl B12 is the best form. Okay, we often have methylcobalamin, which can cause some hyperactivity and overstimulation. We often have hydroxycobalamin, which is a nice neutral form. You definitely want to avoid cyanocobalamin. Cyanocobalamin you're going to find in cheap vitamins. Take a look at your vitamins if you take any. If you're B12, the name for B12 is cobalamin, cobalamin, and they have to pair it with something. So if yours says cyano, cyano, that's cyanide. Swear to God. They combine vitamin B12 with cyanide and put it in vitamins. Just so you know. Why? It's cheap. That's why. Okay? Check your vitamin. If it says cyanocobalamin, you're eating cyanide. Period. Look it up. Google that. Anyway, adenosylcobalamin is the best form. Okay? And it's actually, if any of you guys have done organic acid testing and had vitamin B12 testing, they're actually looking at something called methylmalonic acid, or MMA. And alterations with MMA tell you that you need B12, but it's specific to this adenosyl B12. It's the best form for autism. Doesn't cause the hyperactivity like methyl B12. So our capsule form, not our powder form of Attention on the Double, has this new adenosyl B12. We've got the folinic acid. We're trying to put the best stuff in for your kids. Okay. Where did I leave off? So that's the stimulant. Going to add more dopamine. Try it. See what happens. Like I told you, I've gotten language in 2 days out of some kids with dopamine support. Okay? If the dopamine support, the Attention on the Double, causes hyperactivity or sleep problems, stop it. And instead of stimulating, relax. Things like our Calm and Cool, our Super Serotonin, our Spectrum Tranquility. Okay? Medicine's Goldilocks. You might need a little more. You might need a little less. But try stuff and it will work. Okay? That's why Spectrum Awakening has a 30-day return policy. They'd rather you try something and return it for a refund in 30 days than not try anything at all. Okay? They know something's going to work for your child. All right. Let's get to the coupon and live questions. Coupon of the weekend is Focus 20. That's right. Focus 20 will get you 20% off any of the supplements or lab tests on SpectrumAwakening.com. Not just the Attention on the Double and Temper Tamer, all of them. Even the bundles. So use Focus 20. It expires August 18th, 2024. If you want some one-on-one help, you can schedule a telemedicine appointment with me. Just go on our website, SpectrumAwakening.com, click appointments. You can book it online. You can email or call our office, set it up. I have a telemedicine practice. I talk to people all over the world. Literally this morning, I talked to people from Canada. I talked to people from Spain. Talked to people from the U.S. outside my door. I'm here to help, guys. That's what I do when I do. All right, let's get to some of the live questions. All right, Rodney. Rodney, always good to see you. Sandy, how you doing? Hope you're well. Sandy's a neighbor. Jasmine, good morning. Goddess says hi. Jessica, I ordered the pregnenolone comp for Natalie, and I'm almost certain her outbursts are hormone related. So far, she's done great with it. Do I give that every day or just at a certain time during the cycle? Great question, Jess. Every day. So we talked last week about hormones, and I think it was last week or the week before. We have a supplement for kids who have started puberty or after, not our younger kids, called pregnenolone. Pregnenolone is a hormone, supports hormone production across the board, and it really helps calm some kids. So I'm glad Natalie's doing great with it. Diane says, hello. Sandra, my son has B12 levels due to Keppra. His PCP gave him 5,000 IUs a day. He's been on it for 3 months, and due to his gut not absorbing, his levels aren't rising hardly at all. What else can I do? Wow. That's interesting. Well, then you're going to go transdermal. Okay? What I want you to try... Do I have it here? Try this. Try transdermal. We have an MTHFR cream. Okay? So this MTHFR cream has B12 in it, has 500 micrograms. So try that. Try the cream if you're not absorbing it orally. It might be the form as well. And if he's on any antacids, that's going to stop the B12 absorption. Jasmine said, oh, I have tears. Non-speaking does not mean non-feeling or non-thinking. I know. Isn't that, those poems are great. I love reading things that our kids write to see what's in there. It brings us all to tears. Humera said that brought tears. Thank you for sharing. You're welcome. Susan, my daughter's aggressive and her ABA therapist does self-injurious behaviors and a lot of inappropriate laughter. Is this yeast or something else? It's yeast, Susan. Let me hammer that home again. If your child hurts themselves or has unexplained laughter, you have a gut infection 99% of the time. Try our yeast mold bundle. Try our Paraslayer, try our Biocillin. Those need to be swallowed. But the yeast mold bundle, try that for sure. Everybody, if your kid hurts themselves, they're in pain. That's it. They're in pain. It's probably a gut infection, possibly yeast, possibly bacteria, possibly parasites, or they're teething, right? So find their pain. Okay, Natalie's grandmother, always on. Off topic, Natalie did amazing on pregnenolone calm until she started her monthly this month. Should be given every day even during her cycle, and would it be all right maybe to give her Sanity Saver along with the pregnenolone? Yes, pregnenolone calm is awesome. I'm glad it's helping her. If she had issues around her period, you probably have other hormonal issues, and you may want to try her progesterone cream. So, and again, this is just for girls who have their cycle. This is over-the-counter, FDA-approved progesterone that you can put on topically. You're going to put this on topically from ovulation to your period. You don't put it on the first half of your cycle. You put it on the second half of your cycle. Try that, Kay. But you can also add Sanity Saver for sure. For sure. Sandra, I have my daughter on Panda Bear and Temper Tamer, and I'm not seeing any reduction in her tics, OCD. Her sleep's non-existent. You mentioned trying the Viragon, which is the high-dose vitamin A. How long would I do it for? So our Vira Clear is our high-dose vitamin A. Do 1 bottle of that. We also have, the Viragon is an herbal, which is not vitamin A. You can use that long-term. But I want to make sure you've tried super serotonin and the intention on the double. But again, go with the viral as well. Michelle, can't wait to get the oats test results soon. You are so helpful. Wish you were closer to Tennessee. Boy, I was in Nashville in April, Michelle. I just need to tour. Why not? I love to travel. Susan, can moms take Temper Tamer? Yeah, they should take Temper Tamer, like I said. Serge, hey, Doc, my son has MTHFR. We hear about bad reactions with laughing gas as a dental visit. Thoughts? Yes. So, laughing gas is metabolized or removed using the MTHFR enzyme. So if you have MTHFR mutations, you probably won't remove the laughing gas as fast as an average person. So you can do a few things. Number one, give folinic acid. If you give our folinic acid supplement, superfolinic acid, you won't have the issues. Okay, it's easily treated. So that's option one and the easiest. The other option is talking to the dentist and say, look, we've got genetic polymorphisms that he's not going to do well on nitric oxide. I'd like a different anesthesia. Period. Okay. Jody, hey doc, what's the difference between the Great Plains stool test and the GI map stool test? Great question, Jody. There's very little differences. Okay. Inside secret, the same guy invented all the stool tests. Okay. Shout out to Tony. All the stool tests, the advanced stool tests, were literally invented by the same guy. The GI map test is his most new test. It's the more advanced generational test. It's the company he recently formed. So I do believe the GI map is a little better, but the Great Plains test is an amazing test. It's better than anything you'll get in the hospital. And it's probably identical to the GI-FX from Genova. I think the biggest difference is that the GI map test does not look for prebiotics, where the other ones do. So if you're interested in prebiotics, I would go with Great Plains or Genova, but the GI map is amazing. They all are. Rahila, I was able to find Sermon. Do you think it would be worth trying? I know a company is making it available for patients. You know, like I tell my patients, try everything. Give everything a whirl, see what happens, okay? I've never seen any benefit with Sermon, but it doesn't mean somebody hasn't. So try everything. Elizabeth, what probiotic do you recommend for pandas? I really like what I've formulated, which is our gut reset. It does not have strep strains, which are usually counterindicated in pandas. So try our gut reset, but again, use what works. So if you've used a probiotic before and you say, hey, you know what? I tried gut reset, but that other one worked better. Use the other one. Use what works for your kids. PQQ is a good mitochondrial support supplement for cognition. Yes, it is. That's why it's in our Mitomax mitochondrial formula. Natalie, live shout out. Is adrenal cortex supplement safe for autistic kids? Yes. Everything on our website is safe for kids. I make it for my patients. Natalie, my son gets aggressive on stimulants. Yeah, as I read that before and talked about it. Yeah, half of kids do because they're going fast. They need to relax. Donna, Doc, would you have anything for women in premenopause, nerve issues and hot flashes? I know it's off topic, just wondering. You better believe I do. It's called ST Balance, estrogen balance. This stuff is great. It's basically a high concentration of Vitex with some magnesium and B6. Try that. If that doesn't work, I want you to eat freshly ground flax seeds every day. Freshly ground organic flax seeds every day. a miracle diet intervention for pre-menopause and menopause. But if you like herbal supplements, SD Balance. Goals are, brain fog is hampering my kids' life in school. What works for brain fog? We've worked a lot on the gut. I mean, the gut's great, but it's not everything. And I know, again, this is one of my pet peeves, but so many beginner autism, people who treat autism work on the gut. And that's great because a lot of our kids have gut problems, whether it's fungal infections or need to change a diet or what have you. But there's so much more. I mean, we have autoimmune issues, and we have genetics, we have mitochondria, we have neurotransmitters, we have hormones, we have so much more than the gut. So if you've done gut for a while and you still have more to do, we have to do non-gut things. Try our attention on the double and go from there. Sherry said, can you speak on nicotine again? I'd love to. Now, nicotine gets a bad rap because we think of cigarettes, right? But nicotine, yes, cigarettes cause lung cancer. That's bad. Tobacco causes lung cancer. But nicotine doesn't. Nicotine is actually a chemical our body produces. We produce our own nicotine. Why do people smoke? Because it relaxes them. Period. Okay? So, nicotine is an amazing nervous system relaxant. Our body produces it and uses it as such. So I find it intriguing that we potentially, and I'm not saying go do this, but the thought is, what if there was like a transdermal patch of nicotine that I could put on my body, absorb nicotine, not tobacco, and calm myself down? Obviously there are, Nicorette patches. I do believe there is some research into nicotine patches for kids with autism. I haven't seen the research yet, but it makes sense because nicotine is a chemical our body produces to relax the nervous system. I think it could be potentially great for sensory issues, hyperactivity. Again, nicotine is not smoking and lung cancer. Tobacco is smoking and lung cancer. Nicotine is a chemical in tobacco, also in our bodies, that's calming and relaxing. Sandra, pandas, how do we bring down the inflammation in the brain other than Panda Bear? You want to try our curcumin supplement, curcumise. Ibuprofen every once in a while during flares is great. Not all the time. You'll get an ulcer. And you want to give antivirals. Try our Viragon. Try our Viraclear. Kill out the infection that's causing the autoimmune reaction. Donna, hey doc, my daughter has Down syndrome and autism. Her dad and I have recently got divorced. She won't sleep alone. It's a big change for her. She doesn't do well at all with change. What can I do? Number one, sorry about your divorce. Happens way too much in families of kids with autism. I forgot the rates. What is it, like 70, 80%? I mean, normal divorce rates are 50%. That's high enough. So sorry about that. I would say two things. Number one, every child with Down syndrome needs to get their thyroid checked and probably be on thyroid medication. Okay? 95% of kids with Down syndrome have hypothyroid. If you have a doctor who said, oh yeah, they're hypothyroid, that's just Down syndrome, walk away, show them a finger and say, no, my kid's hypothyroid. I'd like thyroid medication because the kids will do amazing on it. Period. Okay? That's like saying, oh, these autism kids scream because of the autism. No, it's because they're in pain. So shut your mouth, help my kid. I need a bumper sticker like that. Shut your mouth, help my kid. Anyway, what can you do to help with that? I would definitely try for the stress of what's going on because she understands. She knows. They're not dumb. They're just as smart as the rest of us. Try our temper tamer and our super serotonin. Okay? Goals are, what would work for motivation? My child's not willing to do any schoolwork. Stimulant doesn't work for us. If stimulant doesn't work, give a relaxant. Try our Calm and Cool, Spectrum Tranquility, super serotonin. Keisha, I ordered Gut Calm. My son is eating a lot more. He's already overweight. So is there another gut option, or will the side effects subside? Well, we have something else called Gut Immune Access. You could try that. This is the first time I've heard of eating more on Gut Calm. What I want you to try also is our super serotonin. That might be why he's eating so much. Low serotonin can cause desire to overeat. Diane, my son can't convert dopamine to norepinephrine unless I give him SAMe. I wonder if it's a permanent situation or it'll heal eventually when all the heavy metals are out. Good question, Diane. You don't know unless you did some genomic testing. It's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. Are supplements like attention on the double safe for an autistic kid? Yeah, that's why I make them for my patients. Natalie, Quellabri is what my son is on now. It's another stimulant. I can't give him the super serotonin because they worry about serotonin syndrome. Sorry, Quellabri is an antidepressant. I know he has super low dopamine, needs to be brought up. Yeah, try the attention on the double, for sure. Keisha, I ordered attention on the double about a year ago. Is it still good? Yes, it's still good. Sherry, love that you're on your high. Your high horse. Yeah, I know. It's too many docs are afraid to be on a high horse and really call out the medical world because they fear losing their license. And they fear, the pushback from the medical system. I mean, look at Dr. Sears and his vaccine books, trying to make kids healthier. And he's been threatened to lose his license. He spent millions of dollars on lawyers to keep his medical license because the powers that be want the status quo, and doctors are afraid to speak out because they're afraid to lose their license and their livelihood. But I evidently don't care. Missy, I recently put up a post about my daughter who's 6 years old with AST. She was diagnosed at a year and a half. She's extremely intelligent, does not functionally communicate well, and has lots of autism behaviors. Multiple people suggest I use methylene blue drops, 1 or 2 drops a day. What are your thoughts? I've never used methylene blue. What an old school treatment. I learned about it in school. I've never used it, so I don't know. And I've never had any patients that have used it. So I'm not sure, but I find it perfectly safe. So try it and tell us what happened. Jody, could you use the calming cream instead of the temper tamer? You can. Let me show you calming cream. There's calming cream. It's a combination of B6 and magnesium, very calming things. It's going to calm somebody who's hyper. It's not going to help them handle more stress. So you could use both. I would say, like with anything, trial and error. Dolly, what do you use? Low dopa and the other one, but high epinephrine. Sorry, spelled wrong. If you have high epinephrine, use anger management. I developed anger management to lower epinephrine or adrenaline levels. They're the same thing. If dopamine's low, you want that attention on the double, but you got to drop the adrenaline first. That's why both of those supplements are part of the Skowron solution. The Skowron solution is a 4-supplement protocol I created to balance brain chemistry. And we start by lowering adrenaline levels, epinephrine levels, with anger management. We add some serotonin support. We add the folinic acid. Then we add the attention on the double. Want to make sure all those brain chemicals are balanced. Got it. What is the best form of vitamin B6 and the dose? Usually P5P, 50 milligrams. Michelle, is there any doctors you work with near Chattanooga or Nashville? There aren't. I'm in a rabbit hole here. There aren't, Michelle. Obviously, I have a telemedicine practice, so if that works for you. But I don't know anybody in Tennessee. I wish I did. Miranda, a little off topic. What have you found to be a cause of intussusception in kids with autism? I don't think it has an association with autism. I've had a few patients with intussusception. It's where the intestines kind of ball up and close and telescope in on themselves and causes some big old problems. You need surgery. I haven't seen an association with that, Miranda. Bella, good morning from California, counting down to Taka, 2 more months. I got to get my plane ticket. My daughter the last 2 days has been freaking out in the shower by running out and screaming. What is her anxiety? What's the best supplements in the morning for calmness? I love the poem I Shed a Tear. We all did, Bella. Boy, autistic kid making us shed tears. We need to understand they're there. They can do things, their potential. Last year at Taka, the president of Taka, her grandson, came up and played the guitar, sang a song that he wrote. Nonverbal kid up on stage singing the song on a guitar that he wrote. And created. He wrote the song too. Awesome. Our kids can do it, guys. We got to spread the hope. Well, so first off, Bella, I don't know what's going on with your daughter. This is acute and this is new. I'm worried about a pandas or a pans flare. I'm worried about, is it allergy season where you are? Is this an allergy reaction? Is it the stress of school starting? I know California schools start around now. I'm worried about pandas or anxiety. So if she's had a cold recently, worry about pandas. If she hasn't, maybe up some serotonin support, maybe our Calm and Cool, see if that helps. Again, I love our Spectrum Tranquility. Maria, hey Doc, I'm watching from Germany. Guten Tag, wie geht's? But I am from Zimbabwe. I like your podcast, so enlightening. You've made me understand autism better. I'm now an awareness advocate in my country. That is awesome. I'm so glad. We distribute our stuff through a guy in South Africa, but we need to get in more African countries. So if anything we can do to help Maria, we'd love to. Sophia, what are your views about rifaximin for gut issues? Well, it's an antibiotic, and if you have bacteria, it helps. But, I know it's part of a certain protocol out there. If you got a bacterial infection, it might help. But if you don't, not going to help. Janice, hey Doc, Janice from Florida. Our granddaughter's having a hard time with transitions. Seems to be more zoned out. Right before bed, she's jumping, a hard time settling down. You tested her cortisol and dopamine, and they were normal. We have the Calm and Cool, but should we try Temper Tamer? Yeah. Or add attention on the double back in. Now try the temper tamer first. We cut out folinic acid and attention on the double because we thought it was adding hyperactivity. She just started the adenosine B12. Try the temper tamer. See if that works. Stacy, yes, Tor, come to Dallas. We could fill a room. Boy, where was I just? San Antonio in February. We'll work on this. Bahar, can you take super serotonin with guanfacine? Yes. Sandra, is rosemary safe for people that have seizures? Yes. I see it's in the MTHFR cream. I read it can trigger one. It's such a small amount, I wouldn't worry. Would I give it in addition to the oral liquid he's on? Yes. Amanda, hey doc, can I open the capsule of Temper Tamer 2? Yes. And mix it with juice? Yep. Leslie, what do you think about homeopathy? I love homeopathy. I think the struggle with homeopathy is twofold. Number one, our first world society is in the mindset of more is better. I give you more, I win. Strong, caveman, right? That's our mentality. Homeopathy is a totally opposite. Okay, for those of you not familiar with homeopathy, it's a medicine invented by a medical doctor in the 1800s in Germany that the opposite premise is true, which is less is better. Okay, so homeopathy is taking substances, plants, rocks, whatever, and diluting it. Okay, and that dilution is the treatment. So it's really interesting stuff. So I think, number one, a lot of people don't just grapple on that philosophy because it's opposite to what we normally think. And I think the other thing is, you know, the right homeopathic does amazing wonders. I mean, amazing wonders. We used to sell vaccine homeopathic no-sodes on our website till we were blacklisted by the company because the FDA came down on them. And man, did amazing. These kids did amazing on vaccine no-sodes. But you got to get the right one. Okay? So if you don't get the right homeopathic, you don't see a result. And I think people throw the baby out with the bathwater. But if you get the right homeopathic, it's really, 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 really cool. Really cool. We used to have a homeopathic. We don't anymore. It was called Shot Support. It was a post-vaccine homeopathic, right? Again, the FDA. FDA didn't like that name. Shot Support. Anyway, Dolly. It's low dopamine epinephrine in normal norepinephrine ratio, low normal, low tyrosine, and taurine. Yeah, Dolly, you need attention on the double, 100%. Michelle, we don't have a formal diagnosis. What genetic test do you recommend for this? If you want a genetic test for kids, get a microarray and a whole exome sequence. Get it from your doctor. Get it on our website. Our website's a cheek swab, not a blood draw. Get those tests done. Diane, why don't you do fecal transplant? Because I'm not a gastroenterologist, and those are the only people that the fecal transplant factories will sell to. So I just didn't buy the right license. Got it. If a stimulant does not work for my child, can they take amino acids like tyrosine, or it may cause aggression? It may cause aggression. Try it. It's not as strong as the meds. Meds are stronger. Try it, but watch out for that. And if that happens, again, give the calming super serotonin chemical. Diane, anything that'll bring my son's articulation? Try the attention on the double supplement. Missy, I truly believe Tylenol is the cause of my daughter's autism. I watched the change happen at the time I was going through divorce. I didn't have money to buy Tylenol if my daughter was vaccinated. The pediatrician prescribed Tylenol, wrote me a prescription, Medicaid paid. I gave my daughter Tylenol, and then autism came. How are people going about getting compensation? I have actual prescriptions of Tylenol. It makes me so angry. It should make you angry. I want you to go on our Rumble channel, Rumble Spectrum Awakening. We got videos of PhDs talking about how Tylenol causes autism. Okay? I have no idea. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't even know any idea about getting financial recuperation. But I know there's massive class action lawsuits out there. You just Google that. But you're right. Tylenol is a bad drug. And it was approved before there were safety regulations. It would not be approved today. No way. It's too toxic. Diane, my son reaches to bad supplement and refused to be in shower and was scared of his bike. It's over now. Okay. Dan, I'm still crying over the MMR supplement of yours. Yeah, we had an MMR homeopathic no-so. We don't anymore because they won't sell it to me. You can get it from other homeopaths though. Leslie says recommendations on a homeopath. Gosh, what's her name? She's in New York City. She's great. Shiitake mushrooms. Can't think of it now. Coyle, Mary Coyle, Coyle. Jeannie, struggling with inattention, but have all other ADHD struggles, sorted with GABA and BS. I'm wondering if undiagnosed anemia could be a factor. Possibly. Get a CBC and find out. Natalie, what do you recommend for anxiety? Because I feel a lot of my son's ADHD is linked to anxiety. Again, those sedatives, super serotonin, Spectrum Tranquility, Calm and Cool. Keisha, we used your shot support and it really did help. I know it did. I know. I wish I could get this stuff out. Maria, mir geht's gut, danke. Yeah, I'd love to be a distributor for supplements to my native. If it's okay with you, I will write an email. Yep. Again, we already have a European distributor, so we're good in the EU. It's Mandy Mart. We're good in the UK, but in Africa, we need people. So email our customer service, and we'd love to help. We'd love to set that up anywhere. I mean, again, if you guys are international, we have distributors in the EU, in the UK. We're good there, and in South Africa. But any other country in the world, we would love to get our stuff there. We ship international. You can go on our website and ship international. You're going to pay DHL fees. We don't make those up. DHL does. You're going to pay customs fees. We don't make those up. Your country does. I want you guys to have this stuff, and I want you to have it affordably. We ship for free within the U.S. over $50, which is great, but even Canada is expensive. So if you're in another country and you want our stuff, we would be happy to get this stuff so you can help us distribute it and get it to families affordably. All right, everybody. That's our podcast for today. Great catching up with you guys. Don't forget, coupon of the weekend is Focus 20. Focus 20 will get you 20% off any of the supplements or lab tests on our website. That expires August 18th, 2024. Have telemedicine appointments. And hey, school's here. Try our temper tamer. Try our attention on the double. Last question from Bahar. Can you take grapeseed extract with guanfacine? Yes, you can. All right, everybody. No Facebook Live next week, which will be August 22nd. I will be nose to the grindstone writing my book, but I will see you the week after that. And hope everybody has a great week. And of course, thank you for doing everything you can for your child. Share this podcast, share our information, share our free ebooks. We want to get the information out there. There is hope for our kids with autism. Last question from Michelle. Will the whole exome test show if his symptoms are from genetics, or how do I know it's caused by vaccines? The whole exome sequence will tell you if it is genetic. If you saw a regression after vaccines and it was pretty obvious timing, there you go. It's all in the story. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you later.